Hello and welcome to Cody and Corbin Have a Podcast, the show where two former roommates talk about a new movie every week. This week on the show, we're talking about Moneyball.
There are rich teams and there are poor teams. Then there's 50 feet of crap. And then there's us.
That's $1, man.
What?
Welcome to Oakland.
I need more money.
We're not New York. Find players with the money that we do have.
I like Perez.
Got an ugly girlfriend. Ugly girlfriend means no confidence.
You guys are talking the same old nonsense like we're looking for Fabio. We got to think differently.
Who's Fabio?
Your goal shouldn't be to buy players. Your goal should be to buy wins. And in order to buy wins, you need to buy runs.
Who are you?
I'm Peter Brand.
First job in baseball?
It's my first job anywhere.
We're gonna shake things up. Why don't you walk me through the board?
I believe there's a championship team that we can afford because everyone else undervalues them, like an island of misfit toys.
We want you at first base.
I've only ever played catcher.
It's not that hard, Scott. Tell him, Wash.
It's incredibly hard.
He can't throw. But what can he do?
You want me to speak?
We're not pointing you yet.
He gets on base.
We are card counters at the blackjack table. We're gonna turn the odds on the casino. I'm heading in. Text me the play-by-play.
Wait, what?
I don't watch the games.
I'm your host, Corbin's Vocal, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the greatest wiffle ball player of all time, Cody Webb. Cody, how are you doing?
Doing awesome, man. Another great intro from you. Yeah, very excited for this episode. I don't know about me being the best football player of all time. I'll take that compliment. But yeah, I think this episode's going to be a home run, So super excited. How you doing today, man?
I can't believe you said that. I'm doing good, spent the day at the ballpark today, so it's only fitting that we talk baseball. Let's go ahead and get into why I picked the movie.
Why?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, it's spring, it's baseball season. Opening day was last Thursday. It's very thematic. And so why not talk about a baseball movie? And not only a baseball movie, just an incredible movie. Obviously written by Aaron Sorkin, starring Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, among many others. Star-studded cast, based on true story. Just a real fun baseball movie to get us going and as the MLB season starts.
Yeah. And I back 100% what you're saying. This is a great pick. Like you said, opening day. Going to be a big year for the White Sox, Cubs suck. But no, I think it's a great pick, especially timing-wise and everything. And like you said, overall, I mean, this is just a great movie. I'm just going to say it off the bat. I do want to throw it over to you for your initial thoughts first, but I'm pretty high on this movie, and I'm sure we'll get into it a lot. But I do want to hear you first.
Yeah, let's talk initial thoughts.
Good morning, Vietnam!
First of all, how can you not be romantic about baseball, Cody?
That was my first thought. God, I should have went first. It's off.
Obviously, incredible quote. And I mean, accurate. How can you not? But here's my question to really get us started.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the greatest movie about baseball ever made?
Well, my answer to that would be very likely yes. And not just because it's a good baseball movie. It's just a good movie in general, I think.
See,
that's hard to find in other baseball movies.
Here's my thing. I think it's the greatest movie about baseball. I don't know if it's the greatest baseball movie.
Sure. That's fair. I mean, for that argument, I'd probably say Major League or
Major League,
fun.
The Sandlot. I think those probably are
the Sandlot too.
Two great ones.
But I mean, for a movie based on baseball, I would say there's no competition.
Oh, easily the best. I think just getting into it, I think because this movie is front office focused, I think it has a really interesting perspective, whereas a lot of movies are about either players or people who play baseball, but this focuses on a lot of stuff that a lot of people you don't usually see, scenes with scouts sitting around the table. I mean, you have the very, politically incorrect scout sitting around the table talking about how his girlfriend's ugly, so we shouldn't get him. And it's just stuff like that. That's so true to what baseball was and what baseball probably still is today. The trade deadline scene, another thing that you don't really see in a typical baseball movie. All of the pre-draft conversation type stuff that you see with the flashbacks in Billy and the Mets talking to him, dealing with the managers and dealing with the players in the the locker rooms. I think there's just so much that like is different from your typical baseball movie because it's not focused on players necessarily.
No, I agree. I mean, this in a sense, it's a character study of Billy Beane. It's not really a story about how the Athletics won 20 games in a row. That's sort of just in there out of nowhere, which is another great scene. And all the scenes you mentioned as well are definitely going to be on my list later on. But yeah, I think that's where this movie excels at, because it's not really about this team. It's about Billy. It's about his past, trying to not make the same mistakes he made before. And then also about his family too, which I think is a fun side of the movie and does bring some heart too. But I mean, overall, my thing is like, even if you don't like baseball, I still think you'll like this movie. But if you do like baseball, I think you'll love this movie. And that's the park I'm in. But I mean, overall, just to wrap up my stuff, I think this is probably the best baseball biopic you could probably make, or at least will see for a long, long time. And it's something that needs to be appreciated, I think. But yeah, no, I'm ridiculously high on this film.
Yeah, I think the other thing it does a good job of showing is a bit of the cruelty of baseball. The losing, the trades, the firing, the getting cut, the getting sent down. There's no like sugarcoating any of this. It's pretty honest and raw throughout the entirety of it. Baseball is a sport where it's very hard to make it, and it's very hard to last. A lot of people get drafted, but they still, you see it with Billy Beane's story. First round pick, absolutely sputtered out, never turned into anything. They say he has 5 tools. And he was never really much of a baseball player. Obviously had success as a front office person, but there's just a lot of cruelty that happens in professional sports, but particularly in baseball, with just like, how many people are in the minor leagues and never get a chance to make it. So I think this movie does a good job of showing that.
Yeah, and I think that like really helps develop the character more of Billy Beane. Because you see where he's coming from. He's like, he definitely doesn't want to connect to these players because he knows he's gonna have to make those tough decisions. And then like the more and more him and Jonah Hill like get intertwined with the team, sort of at the end, I think that's like the main reason he doesn't want to go. Obviously his family and everything, but who the fuck cares about them? But I mean, he's got a relationship with these guys. He likes these guys. I think or at least that's why the movie is showing why he wants to stay. Obviously, all of this is not really like, it's based off a true story, but with any movie, like it's not all going to be accurate. I do have some stuff later on where I want to talk about where like there's a lot of other stuff going on in these games and everything. But I think just like based off the story they were telling, they took it in like an interesting way. Like if I was to make a movie about this sort of winning streak and the idea of Moneyball, I probably wouldn't even thought of half the things this movie did. So I like that a lot. Obviously, that has a ton to do with Sorkin's writing. And I think he does get most of the credit for this movie, even though like the director, their name popped up. I don't even remember it because I don't think they made shit sense. I don't think they've gotten really any credit from this movie, which kind of sucks because it is really good. But this has Sorkin's like obviously dialogue all over it. And I think this and like The Social Network are his big things of like, oh, this is what Sorkin can do. But I do feel kind of bad for the director.
Well, it's crazy because Sorkin didn't even write the first draft of the script.
Right.
It was written by someone else, and then Sorkin was able to come in, which I was reading that Sorkin very clearly said he's like, I didn't feel like I added a ton, which I think there's some I think the dialogue especially is very Sorkin.
Yeah.
And then I think some of the family stuff is very Sorkin as well. Sorkin's known to really play into the father of daughters type thing. You see it in movies like Molly's Game. You see it in movies even more recently, the Trial of Chicago 7. He has this very big focus on like fathers and daughters. And I think that's very evident in this movie as well. But I agree with you. The director may be underappreciated. I do think this is a well-directed movie, actually. Shouts to Bennett Miller. He hasn't done a whole lot outside of this. Directed Capote and the Cruise and Foxcatcher, which
Foxcatcher that's a good movie too. But
yeah,
I mean nothing really big after this. I feel like just kind of surprised.
Do you have any other initial thoughts that you wanted to hit?
No, that was the general of it. You got any more?
No, I think that's it. I'm sure we have a lot more to say. So let's move on to roll credits.
Roll credits.
Ding.
I'll get us started with the very first thing. So
Go for it.
obviously this movie opens with a quote from Mickey Mantle. It says, "It's unbelievable how much you don't know about the game you've been playing all your life." And I think that's pretty evident. Billy Beane obviously grew up playing baseball, but it became very clear to him that the system failed him. And, he was supposed to be an all-star. He was a 5-tool player. And I think that's kind of the greatest motivation of this entire film is he realizes, he's been in this front office role for a few years. He was a scout, but especially now he's gotten to the point where he's lost. And he's also seen that like the traditional way of thinking did not work. It failed him. It's failed, numerous times with the Oakland A's. So they have to do something different. So he says, you know what, I'm open to hiring this young guy out of Yale who is an economics degree and is not a baseball guy, because maybe there's, maybe I don't know everything about this game that I've been playing all my life. There is something more out there. So I think that's an interesting, quote to open up the movie with.
Yeah, I mean, and just bouncing off that, like the title itself of Moneyball is that idea. It's like the idea of it's not a fair game, baseball. Like the opening scroll as well shows the budget between the New York Yankees and the Oakland Athletics, and it's not a fair game.
It still
really
isn't
not.
To this day.
No, it's definitely not. And the A's are doing the exact same thing now, which is pretty funny too. But I mean, for this movie, like that overarching idea is like so gripping, I think, because it's really taking something that like Billy Beane and Peter Brand are just like implementing into baseball, and basically everybody else in baseball saying, that's not how you do it. Like, we're not going to go against the grain that we've been doing for 100 years. And then it ends up actually working, which I think is pretty cool. And it's a great title as well. And I think it is said like once in the movie total. It was just over like that radio interview with the scout where he's like, oh, they're calling it Moneyball and he should be fired. So I feel like if they like thrown it into a bigger scene, that would have been like a cool moment of like Billy or Peter Brand saying Moneyball. But I think obviously it fits super well. The title does.
The only other thing I wanted to talk about is obviously at the end you get the classic, based on a true story, we have to wrap things up with some title cards to clean things up. Yeah. And it's really tough because obviously the first one says, he was offered, $12.5 million, would have been the highest paid GM in all of sports, and he doesn't accept it. But then the next title card goes, but the Red Sox won the World Series 2 years later, which is tough for sure. Which, here's the thing, Theo Epstein ended up taking that general manager position that he was offered. And Theo kind of did implement a lot of those Moneyball ideas, advanced sabermetrics, maybe not in the exact same way, but he still recognized the Red Sox still tried to implement it, and they did win a World Series 2 years later. So,
yeah, I mean, the funny thing about those like end titles is like they do it like super specifically as well, where they showed, he's the biggest paid one, and then he didn't take the job. The next one, the Red Sox won the World Series using his metrics. It's like it's kind of tough the way they set it up, but effective. But yeah, you are right. I mean, in hindsight, he probably should have just gone to the Red Sox. But tough stuff for Billy. I believe now he's not even with the A's anymore. Obviously, this is like 20 years ago now. Like, it's been a while. So I think he's out of the organization. And he never got that ship, which is kind of tough, especially even deeper into hindsight, like after this movie was made still. But yeah, rip Billy Beane's career.
This says he's the executive vice president of baseball operations and a minority owner of the Athletics currently. So
okay, so he's not the GM anymore. He just moved higher up. Yeah, that's what it was. Whatever. I mean, still, he's done doing the Moneyball system his own. He's probably just like, fuck it, dude. I'll stay in Oakland forever because I like it here and I love all the people. But they're never gonna win a World Series, so might as well stop trying.
And it's interesting because baseball is really, while yes, there's rich franchises in other sports, baseball is really the only sport that has this kind of unique money problem because there is no salary cap, unlike other sports. There's obviously the luxury tax to try and prevent some of these teams spending large amounts of monies, but it still doesn't. The New York Yankees spend 200 some million on their payroll now, and teams like the A's and the Rays like are spending sub $30 million on their entire roster. And it's insane. I think that's probably one of the biggest problems baseball has today. But, teams like the Rays, can still be successful. Teams like the A's, even in the past couple of years, have had, playoff appearances despite their payroll being significantly lower.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth, honestly. I was going to say pretty much that. I mean, this is still an ongoing issue with baseball. Obviously, I think there's a new tax coming out called the Cohen Tax, which is directly because the New York Mets are spending so much fucking money. It's ridiculous. But like you said, teams like
and the Dodgers are spending an insane amount of money this year as well.
Obviously, so. The Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, any massive city like that is going to be bad. But yeah, like you're saying, the Tampa Bay Rays, what they're doing right now, it's sort of a continuation of what Billy Beane started, I think. And they're doing the same sort of analytical standpoint, but even more. So they're doing like 2 people per position, which is called a platoon. We're just breaking down baseball at this point. But I mean, basically you just get somebody who's good against righties, somebody who's good against lefties, put them at the same position. And then whoever the other team throws that day, you just throw in the one who like would be better against a righty or a lefty. So I mean, they took Billy Beane's model, extended it more. They have one of the lowest payrolls in baseball. And
I mean, last year, the Rays, number 1 team in the AL East.
Exactly. They went to the World Series the year before. So, I mean, they're legit contenders every year. They're going to be just as good this year. So, I mean, if you follow the system correctly and get the right guys at the right time, pretty much anything's possible in baseball, which is, another overarching theme, I think. But yeah, and the A's too, like you said, over the past like 5 seasons, they've been good. This year, they sold everybody because their team got too good and they're all worth a lot of money now. So they have to go back to the beginning, which is probably why, Billy Beane doesn't like that so much, because every time he gets like 4 or 5 good players, they all sign, massive deals with these other teams, which, is something that's going to happen in Oakland for a long, long time. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I pretty much agree with everything you say, but just baseball talk. Let's just start a baseball talk podcast at this point, but I'm rambling on.
Let's move on to stupidest part.
You stupid.
Here's the thing. This movie is great. There's not a lot of stupid parts, but there is one glaring issue.
Okay, let's hear it.
Listen, they won 20 games in a row, but at the end of the day, Moneyball, it didn't work. They didn't win a World Series, and he says it in the movie. Like, no one cares if you didn't win the last game of the year. And here we are 20 years later. The A's still have not won a World Series. And I think it kind of sullies a little bit like the beauty of the story, is because like it's a classic David and Goliath. And yes, they were successful. They set the AL record for most wins in a row. But they didn't win the World Series, and they still haven't.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of takes away from it.
That's fair. But I mean, for saying it's the dumbest part, I mean, it was based off a true story. So I mean,
no, I agree. But I mean, it's just like you make this whole movie about something that in the end, like, didn't really work. Like,
right. I mean, that's what Brad Pitt says that multiple times, like you said too. So yeah, I kind of like that they don't win though. I mean, it's a moral victory, but he's still not happy with it just because that's like who he is as a person. But no, that is tough. I think they lost in the ALDS too. They didn't even go far in the playoffs. So
yeah,
tough. I do have a couple. Like you said, this movie's kind of hard to pick at. So if these are not very dumb, I'm sorry. But the first super nitpicky thing I have is we see Jonah Hill's apartment when Billy Beane calls him at like 4 a.m. Did you notice what was hanging above Jonah Wall's bed? It was a picture of a very famous person. Do you know who it is?
No, who wasn't?
It was Plato, the philosopher. I thought that was a little on the nose for Jonah Hill's character. That was the first time I think I noticed it was on this watch too. I was like, what the hell is Plato doing over his bed? But I think that's pretty stupid. My other one, which I do kind of have a gripe with, it's sort of just the direction a little bit. And it's the idea of Billy Beane, he doesn't watch the games, which that's fine and everything. That could be true. I don't even know if it is. I didn't look it up. But I think for this movie, it's more just a plot point to have Brad Pitt be in like different locations, like just giving emotional reactions to things. Like he's chucking his radio around. He's in a wire grid of an empty parking lot, walking around. He's even doing some donuts sometimes. It's a lot of driving and it's a lot of emotional stuff. I don't know if that's the best stuff in this movie. I think it's an interesting choice, but I would say in the grand scheme of the direction that's pretty dumb in my opinion. But
Yeah, that's fair. My another gripe I had, I don't think the like filmed baseball scenes look that great.
okay.
They do this like hyper cinematic like lighting, and everything behind it is blacked out, and like I understand why they did it, but I think like when they juxtapose it with like the real like old footage of the baseball, like I just don't think it quite works or fits in with the story. So yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of that.
I agree with that. The mix between like the real footage and like the clearly like well lit footage, I think is not the best. I was gonna bring this up in filmmaking, but might as well just do it now. But I think the way it's shot is interesting. But obviously it's just for like dramatic effect, which I think it kind of works, but at the same time it kind of really just feels out of place. So I do agree with you. I think just the way it was shot. I mean, it's like so black and white, like just on the batter. I don't know. I don't know what to think about it, but I agree.
The other thing that I talked about, I kind of mentioned before, that Aaron Sorkin has this like theme of fathers and daughters in a lot of his writing and his stories. And I think the ending and the way that it tries to throw in that like, oh, he just stayed because of his daughter, I think that kind of detracts from the story. Yes, your family's great. You should stay in California to be with your daughter, Billie Bean. But it's like this whole emotional setup. He has the conversation with Peter Brand, and they look at the guy who's scared to run to second base and all that stuff. And then it's like he's driving in the car, and she's like, "Oh, well, if you leave me," like she's all sad, and then it cuts, and it's like, oh, he decided to stay. And I'm not a huge fan of the way that kind of like plays in at the end of just like, oh, he just stayed because of his daughter, and like not because of what he was able to accomplish in Oakland, and like wanting to stay there and like still try and do it for less money and not give in to the greed and the money of the Red Sox. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I really like the ending personally, but I feel like it kind of leaves it up to you on why he would want to stay. But obviously that was like the tipping point for him, was I guess hearing his daughter say that. But I don't know. It's kind of like it like is emotional, I think, at the end, and I think like it did get me. So I kind of like the ending, but yeah, it's sort of just the idea of, oh, he loves his daughter. That's the reason why. Is kind of like a weak reason, I would say. Not that that's a bad reason, but I agree with what you're saying. But I do like the ending a lot.
Do you have any other stupid parts?
No, that was all I had. Not much this week to contribute there.
Not a lot. When the movies are good, pales in comparison to last week.
Yeah. Compared to last week, the amount of time we spent on dumbest part was probably good 15, 20 minutes, but that's what happens. Yeah.
Let's move on to favorite scene.
She is very gorgeous to me.
Cody, why don't you get us started here?
Yeah, I got a few here. There's a couple just iconic ones that I really like. Like you were saying, like in the initial thoughts, just the scenes of them sitting around the scout table, I think are some of my favorites. The he gets on base scene, so good, so well written, so fun. And then the trade deadline scene too. I think that's
that's the one I wanted to talk about.
Okay, I'll talk about a little bit. I'll throw it at you, but I mean, like you said, you just don't see stuff like that in these sort of sports movies where it's behind the scenes. I think just the managing of the team is maybe the most interesting part of the team, and you don't really see that often in media. And I think the way that scene plays out, where he's on like 4 different phone calls, he's playing 2 of them just for the overall goal to get this one guy. I think it's masterfully done. And I mean, the thing I kind of forgot about in my initial thoughts as well is this movie is unbelievably acted. I think there's really not too many like weak performances, and the main 2 of Brad and Jonah Hill, their chemistry, I think in that scene specifically is off the wall. But yeah, no, I'll throw it over you. I love that scene a lot.
Yeah, I think it's just really fantastic. Like you said, I think it's probably easy for a lot of people to be like, what does a general manager really do? Like, how much do they actually affect the play? Like, obviously they make the decisions on like who to hire and who to trade for. But like when you see like how much effort he puts into like make these trades, and he's playing these guys, and obviously like this is an elite, level of thinking, but like him and Jonah Hill working together and calling the different people and putting them on hold, and they got to call the owner of the team to try and get the money. And it's just fantastic. Like it's really amazing. And it's crazy because you see like he knows like every single player they're talking about. It's really cool. And you just see like when they finally like succeed, Jonah Hill's like little celebration where he's like, is really funny as well. So I just love that scene. It's amazing.
Yeah, the slow fist pump from Jonah Hill, classic. I think that was the scene they used for his Oscar nom. Like when they announced him as a nominee, that was the scene they showed, his slow fist pump. So that's cool too. But definitely one of my favorites. I have a couple of other ones as well. A little one that I don't know if I just personally really enjoy it, but I think it's super funny. It's when he goes into his ex-wife's house and her new husband is like sitting there and he's
Spike Jones, baby.
Yeah, Spike Jones. Shout out Spike. But I love that scene. I think it's one of the funniest in the movie. Sort of him at the beginning where his voice is like cracking and he doesn't know what to say. And then at the end with the phone and he's like, her mother and I will discuss it. It's just like this dude has no chance to get against Brad Pitt in the scene.
Yeah,
but
he's like such a wet blanket character, but it's just played for laughs. It's great.
Yeah, so I love that one. And then I think I've said this before, but I said the Martian episode. I said this. I'm a sucker for a montage, dude.
This movie has a lot.
Yeah, the one that sticks out to me is when they go on the winning streak. Pretty much, I think they go from like 16 to 20. They just keep showing, continuous highlights and stuff. Gives me goosebumps every time. I don't know why, but just like the fans' reactions to those kind of games are pretty phenomenal. And that's really something that we've all never seen in baseball for. I mean, it hasn't. I think that's the most games ever won in baseball continuously. So we'll probably never see it again, honestly. And just
I think the record, it's the most in the AL. I think the record is 26 overall, but
I mean, the teams that they're even passing for the AL record were like the 1906.
I mean, yeah, it's old ass. Yeah.
1947, like DiMaggio Yankees. So it's like ridiculously long ago. But yeah, I'm a sucker for Montage, and like I said, that one gives me chills every time. So you gotta throw that out there too.
Absolutely. I just have a couple quotes because I think this movie just has like some amazing quotes, maybe not necessarily scenes. So first one, obviously, if you lose the last game of the season, nobody gives a shit. That's a great one. Billy Bean saying, would you rather get 1 shot in the head or 5 in the chest and bleed to death? The interaction, I wanted you to see these player evaluations they asked me to do. I asked you to do 3. Yeah. To evaluate 3 players. Yeah. How many did you do? 47. Okay. Actually, 51. I don't know why I lied. Just
yeah. That screams Sorkin to me right there. That's classic Sorkin, but yeah.
It's hard not to be romantic about baseball, obviously, is great. And then when they're sitting around the table and Billy Bean says Scott Atterberg and everyone goes, who? And he goes, exactly, that guy sounds like an Oakland A already.
Yeah.
Which is just great. And there's so many more great lines. So
yeah, you forgot he gets on base, but no, that scout, every single line from that scout team meeting is so good. I mean, the one about he's got no confidence because his girlfriend's ugly. I mean, and then it like moves on a little bit and it comes back. Well, his girlfriend's a 6 at best. That's all. Like, come on. All these old guys in the room just talking.
His dick's 2 feet into the room before he even walks in.
Yeah. Anything out of some old guy scout's mouth is gold, I think, in this movie. But yeah, very, very quotable, and those are all definitely great.
Let's move on to let's talk filmmaking.
We are Full Sail University. We take dreams seriously.
So the thing that I wanted to talk about, actually, you brought up in the last scene, is the montage. This movie utilizes the montage probably like none other. It is constant throughout. Some scenes maybe you don't quite consider a montage, but there's a ton of intercutting between back and forth of like Billy Beane playing, Billy Beane, getting scouted with, the modern things that are happening, obviously the thematic similarities of, oh, he was a failure and then now he wants to do things differently. But I think specifically the scene I wanted to talk about was that winning streak. You get the intercut of the real footage, the news footage, them, the famous different announcers talking over about it, them sitting and watching the real games. It's utilized throughout, but I think it's probably best executed in that one scene. There's just a ton of scenes throughout where you take dialogue and you put it over other footage. So yeah, that's just kind of what I wanted to talk about here.
Yeah, and you're right. They do it a lot more than I think I even noticed before you bring it up. I mean, there's so much like narration of just like sports analysts saying stuff over like shots of the team and everything. And then there's like the montage of him helping out the players, and then the winning streak, and then the entire story of his like career. So you're right. I really didn't even realize that. And I think montages, if you use them well, like they are in this movie, it's not as noticeable. I think obviously they became like super popular in sports movies due to the Rocky franchise, just because like before every big fight, Rocky would go on this massive montage and get everything pumped up. But no, I think you're right. Like they do it maybe a little bit too much, but like if they do it that well, it's sort of like I didn't even notice until you said it. So yeah.
Did you have anything specific you want to talk about in this scene?
I did have a couple things bring to the table. Talked about it, the way it was shot, super dramatic. Another thing we haven't talked about, which I really, really like, is the score. I think the score is one of my favorites of all time. Super dramatic as well, but just fits so well, I think. And then as well, I just want to throw out, if we were still doing Welcome to the Academy, I would have to throw out Best Original Song for Just a Little Bit Stuck in the Middle from his daughter. Oh, I'm a defender of this song. I think it's very good. I think the actress who sings it is very good as well. But I mean, I'd put that on my playlist. That's a banger. So that's all. That's pretty much all I got for this category, though.
Yeah, but this song was not written for this movie.
Yeah, I don't care.
The song came out in 2008, which is
I haven't heard it.
I can't remember the name of the person, but the thing about it is it's like the most anachronistic part of the whole movie, because like the song came out in 2008 and this is obviously set in 2001, and she's like, yeah. It's sung by Linka is the person. The song's called The Show, and obviously this movie came out in 2011, but whatever.
Maybe that, I think, yeah.
I think something I can
dumbest part. That should be in dumbest part.
Throw it back, edit it in, Cody. Go ahead. Are you familiar with a J cut, Cody?
I mean, sure. I don't remember the specific terminology, but I did learn all the like filmmaking stuff. But please explain it to me again.
So in filmmaking, you have obviously you could cut between scenes and you could cut the audio. There's also what we call L cuts and J cuts. So a J cut is basically where you have your video and you have your audio files, and it forms a J where the audio begins to play before you cut to the video of the audio. So this happens a few times, kind of in the montages. Sometimes it's just audio over top, but it happens a lot in the scenes where it's like the flashbacks, where you'll see Billy Beane sitting there, and then the audio of the scouts talking to his family starts to play, and then we cut to the actual video of that scene. So it's a J cut because the audio is on the bottom and then it kind of forms a J. You can do the same thing where you cut to a new image in a new scene, but you continue the audio from the previous scene, which is called an L cut. So there's your filmmaking lesson about J cuts and L cuts.
Appreciate the refresher, but yeah, no, it's true that they do that a lot, I think, in this, and they do it effectively. So props to them.
Yeah, the audio kind of leads you into what you're about to see next.
Yeah, kind of draws you in a little to the next scene. I like it.
Weird movie details trivia.
Naked grandma!
Naked, huh?
I got 3 questions for you, Cody.
I have 2, so you can start us off.
All right. My first 2 don't have any choices, and I think first 2 easy. Third one, you might be able to go 3 for 3 today, Cody, so let's see it. All right. First, what are the 5 tools in baseball?
Okay. I believe, oh man, I feel like I'm gonna miss one. So obviously it's hitting, hitting for power, fielding, throwing, and running. There you go.
There you go. 5 tools. Billy Bean. He was a 5-tool athlete, and then it did not work. So.
I almost forgot running because steals don't matter. Analytics.
Hey, Purdue baseball leading the Big Ten in steals.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it worked today. 17-0 IU. Rip. But my first question also does not have options. I don't know if this is easy or hard. I feel like you know baseball decently enough, so I'll throw it at you. But yeah, the guy in the movie, there's this guy who is the guy who's teaching Scott Hatterberg how to play first base. It's famously Ron Washington. And I just want to know what team he managed for a while during 2010. Made a couple World Series trips. Corpino's disrespected by this question, I think, but
no, I don't know the answer. So okay, he made a couple World Series trips in the 2010s.
Yeah, he did. He lost both of them. I believe currently he's the third base coach for the Braves.
Interesting.
So he did win a World Series last year.
Okay, so I just gotta guess a Major League Baseball team that went to the World Series. Obviously, okay, so it's not the Royals, not the Indians, not the obviously not the Cubs.
Guardians? Oh yeah. Also, this movie needs to be censored because they say the Indians. It's the Guardians, bro.
It's the Guardians now. They were the Indians then.
They showed the Indians logo in all of its glory.
Yeah, because they were rocking the logo in all of its glory back in 2002. Okay. I have no idea. I couldn't guess right now.
It's the Texas Rangers.
Of course.
Good team back in the 2010s.
Shout out Josh Hamilton, dude.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Adrian Beltre.
He killed somebody.
Let's move swiftly on to your next question.
I went to a Rangers game in like 2014. So was he the manager then? Maybe I saw him.
Texas?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, Ron Washington was probably the manager. There you go.
I didn't say hi to him. That's my problem.
Yeah.
All right, no choices on this one again. What school was Billy Bean gonna go to if he didn't get drafted by the Mets?
Bro, I've seen this movie like 10 times. It's Stanford. Come on.
Smart guy.
Too easy. What? I'll just bank off that. I'll throw a random one out here. What round did Jonah Hill say he would have taken him?
9th.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Respect.
9th round, okay. No signing bonus.
Exactly.
I'll
do last. Do you want to do yours? That wasn't even my question. I was just throwing.
Oh, I thought it was your question. Gotcha.
No, you're good. Okay, so this one, I don't know. It's got options, so I don't think it should be too hard. But the question is, so to preface it as well, they left out a few key players that the A's had, and I want to single out one here. So what former All-Star player was not mentioned at all in the movie, who was a massive superstar, helped them be a contender? I got some options for you for old A's players, or just, good players in general. Is it Eric Chavez, Miguel Tejada, or Jermaine Dye?
I think it's Chavez, right?
Trick question. It's all three of them. You got
there we go. There.
Yeah.
I didn't know Tejada played for the A's.
Yeah,
but...
he was the one who had the walk-off in 19 and 18 of that winning streak, I believe. So pretty big peaks, and he's probably the most well-decorated.
Yeah,
obviously,
definitely.
Jermaine Dye, he won a World Series in 05 with the White Sox, like a 3-time All-Star. So they had a lot of good players, not just, Chris Pratt. I wanted to shout out some other guys too, but yeah.
Good players earlier in their career, obviously, then
yeah.
Couldn't get paid enough money, so ended up in other places.
That's the A's formula, but yeah, shoot me with your last one.
All right. This was the first baseball movie since blank to be nominated for Best Picture. And I do have choices.
Okay.
Choices are Bull Durham, Field of Dreams, A League of Their Own, The Sandlot.
For Best Picture, we're talking?
Best Picture.
Read those again for me. I'm sorry. It's not
Bull Durham,
no,
Field of Dreams, A League of Their Own, The Sandlot.
Well, it's not going to be The Sandlot or whatever the first one said. I
Bull
believe.
Durham?
I don't think Bull Durham will be for Best Picture. No chance. Okay, so Field of Dreams, I think they came out in 91, 94, somewhere in there. League of Their Own.
I think it's 89.
About the same. League of Their Own was probably 1990 or something. You gave you that release too. I mean, it was a younger Tom Hanks. I mean,
92.
There you
Bull
go.
Durham was 89. I don't know when Sandlot was, but you don't care about it anyways.
Like
So
2005 or something. I'm gonna go with Field of Dreams. I don't have any of those been nominated. I feel like none of them have.
well, one of them clearly has at least.
Field of Dreams is my answer.
Field of Dreams is the only other baseball movie to be nominated for Best Picture. I will say Bull Durham nominated for Best Original Screenplay, so put a little respect on their name.
Yeah, respect. I don't think that movie's that good, but who cares what I think?
Hey.
Yeah, I'm not in the Academy.
Kevin Costner, big baseball guy.
Big sports guy, Kevin Costner. Any sports movie, Kevin Costner's probably in it, to be honest. But yeah.
Well, not in this one.
Missed opportunity. But he should have been like the Red Sox owner or somebody. Just a tiny role.
Should have been. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. And we're back with Who Can Act.
Wow.
Cody, why don't you get started?
Who Can Act, of course. Yeah. So obviously, I mentioned earlier, the main two of Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt, phenomenal stuff. But I don't really want to talk about them too much. I have some other people in smaller roles that I really, really love. And the first one is Philip Seymour Hoffman, who I think is just criminally underrated for his entire career, and sadly RIP. But 100%, I think is an amazing performance. Sort of just like, it's super like transparent of who his character is and what he's trying to do, and he almost gets like cut out of story halfway through because he's not that important to it anymore. But all of his interactions with Brad Pitt, I love them fighting in the office about who's playing first base, and then it culminates with Brad Pitt trading away or sending down every single first baseman other than Chris Atterberg. I love that scene too. And so Philip Seymour Hoffman, I think is very, very good and not really talked about.
Yeah, kind of a surprising cast, I feel like. Obviously, we talked about the director earlier, had directed Capote as well, which stars Philip Seymour Hoffman as Truman Capote in a pretty impressive performance. Truman Capote, strange guy. Philip Seymour Hoffman really dove into that role. But yeah, well-decorated actor, rest in peace. Weird casting, but I think he kind of pulls it off pretty well.
100%. Who can act for you, bud?
I mean, obviously you have Jonah Hill, Brad Pitt as the main two, both Oscar nominated. Jonah Hill should have won, saying it right now. Christopher Plummer took the L. I mean, also rest in peace to Christopher Plummer, but let's give it Jonah Hill. Moneyball should have won 2011 84th Academy Awards. What are we doing, guys? No fun. My other one, I got to give shouts to my man, Spike Jonze. We mentioned him earlier in the podcast,
yeah.
but and we've mentioned him in former podcasts, obviously the director of Her. Like I said, I think when he plays like these little bit parts in movies, he's also in The Wolf of Wall Street, where he plays the guy who owns the like first like penny stock place that Jordan Belfort goes to, and he just plays like these little weirdos.
Yeah.
And he's just so funny, and he's only in a couple scenes. He's got the weird sandals. He calls Jason Giovanni. He's like, sorry to hear about Giovanni and Damon. And he's just like that wet blanket husband of your ex-wife, and he's probably my favorite part of this whole movie, to be honest.
I agree completely. Like I was talking about before with that scene, I think it's hilarious, and like the sandals are so funny as well. That just fits his kid that character so perfectly. But no, I back that 100%. And I did want to shout out one more guy. I don't even know his name, if I'm being honest. It's the guy who plays the head scout. You might have to look that up real quick.
Well, I pretty much all except for like two scouts in this movie were played by like real MLB scouts. I think the head scout might have been a real actor, but throughout, like a lot of the scouts are played by real scouts.
That makes sense. And I do want to recast them. I'm going to spoil it a little bit, but I want to throw some more people in the scout room. But I think the main guy, he has like a decent amount of lines, I think, and I think he's actually pretty good. I don't know if I've seen him in anything else. Could be wrong, but I feel like he's just super unknown.
Brady Fuson, and he is a real Moneyball scout.
Really? Okay. Well, that's a hell of a performance then, and even backs it more what I'm saying, I think. But yeah, I think also his character is mostly in the right. I think in this movie, it's sort of the idea of just the classic baseball scout guy. I don't know if Billy was necessarily doing the right thing just by completely ostracizing all his scouts from thinking of the old ways, because I mean, Scott Hatterberg can't play first base, so kind of makes sense. But
however, Scott Hatterberg ended up finished the season above league average in fielding percentage. So,
well, there you go. Well, I mean, are we talking in the movie or are we talking real life?
I'm talking IRL, buddy.
Well, I wasn't talking about the real life, but yeah, I don't know. Probably a lot of stuff happened differently in real life, but also you can't throw. But anyways, I think that's a great performance from that guy.
You don't need to throw to play first base.
Exactly. And the specific scene where he gets canned, I think it's really good. Just like you can just feel the tension.
Now I'm firing you.
Yeah, you could feel the tension between Brad Pitt and him in that scene. I think it was very well acted. So I want to shout out that guy too.
Now let's move on to who can act.
That's my opinion!
I really only have one person for this, so why don't you get us started?
I feel like we probably have the same person. I have two I wanted to shout out, but I really don't think anybody's too bad in this movie. Another one you might have to look up here. The guy who plays Jeremy Giambi. I think he's got like 3 lines total in the movie. But the one scene that I did
Perazzo.
What's his name? Nick?
Nick, yeah.
Nick Perazzo. Well, you're a bad actor, Nick Perazzo. No, I'm just joking. I don't think he's bad in this movie, really. But that one dance scene in the locker room, I think it's pretty cringe. And he's sort of just standing there while Brad Pitt's lecturing. And yeah, he's all right. But that kind of stood out to me.
This is the only movie he's acted in.
Well, there you go. Maybe I'm not wrong. But yeah, he's not bad, but he's definitely not the best. But I'll throw it over you. I think we have the same person, but I'll throw it over you.
I'm saying Chris Pratt.
Yeah, that's mine as well.
He sits there. Oh, I've never played first base. I'm a catcher. Listen, obviously in recent years, Chris Pratt has been, is sullied in the public eye a little bit, with, the treatment of his children and his ex-wife, and also just like some of his, church and religious values and things like that. But I also just don't think he's very good in this movie. Obviously he's great in Parks and Rec, but I just think he's not good in this film whatsoever.
I agree. And revisiting this movie, I'm kind of coming to the conclusion that Chris Pratt's just not a very good actor, I don't think. Like you're saying, I mean, he's playing the dumb guy in this movie, which is fine. I think he played that,
but he's not even funny. That's the thing. Like, if you're gonna play the dumb guy, there's no like comedic, like his role is not that funny.
Yeah, I think him cast as Andy Dwyer is perfect, but pretty much everything else he does, he's not great in. I think the exception to that is Guardians of the Galaxy 1, which is my personal favorite. It's very good in that. But I mean, Guardians Volume 2, not great. Pretty much anything else he's been in.
Jurassic World, Passengers.
Super Mario.
He's fine in the Lego movie.
He's moving to voice acting. He's moving to voice acting.
He's a bit. Hey, Mario! Shout out Mario.
Yeah, because I don't think he's that good in front of the camera. But that was definitely my pick too. I don't think he's bad in this. Sort of just his lines are kind of campy as well, where he's like, "Oh, what's your biggest fear?" Oh, the ball being general direction. Well, that's not great, dude. I'm not sure how you're playing baseball, but yeah, fair enough. But like I said, I don't think he's bad. He's just like severely outnumbered by
in this cast. Yeah, it kind of stands out in comparison to when even you got Philip Seymour Hoffman playing the manager, and in this cast he definitely stands out.
100%. And yeah, like the little roles like that are cast well, I think, otherwise. But and also I think the first time I watched this movie, I don't even think I knew who Chris Pratt was. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, oh shit, Chris Pratt's like the first baseman. That's dope. But I think I didn't watch Parks and Rec until I was like, it ended a long time. So I was kind of not in that community either, but I don't think the first time I watched it, I even realized who that was. Which is funny.
I think he's pretty forgettable in the role too. So I think when I first watched this movie, I had seen Parks and Rec already, so I knew who he was. But even like when I would revisit it years later, I'd be like, oh yeah, fucking Chris Pratt is in this movie. Like what? What the hell?
He's definitely like the most forgettable part, I think.
Which
yeah,
I was reading that like he like really wanted to be in this movie, which I mean I understand it's a fantastic movie, but he was like he lost weight to be in this movie. He was sending finally he was able to get cast because he like put in the effort. So
well, that's cool, I guess. Then good for him, but still not the best guy. So whatever.
let's move on to the recast.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
Let's get it.
I have like one kind of serious one. Actually, they're both kind of jokes. So
Okay, I have like one kind of serious one, and then my other one just straight up.
all right, let's hear the serious one first, Cody.
Okay, so I'm getting rid of Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Well, I have a serious one and a joke too, but we'll get to it.
Dave
My
Bautista.
serious pick, I don't know if it would work, but well, obviously they need to know how to swing a baseball bat and everything. But I'm gonna go with Sebastian Stan, and I want an early in the career Sebastian Stan too. So like probably a good 5-10 years before Winter Soldier. I don't think he's really doing much, if I'm being honest. So I think someone who is unrecognizable is definitely good. But also I think he's a much better actor than Chris Pratt. Based off the stuff he's been putting out recently, I think he's actually pretty good. So I choose him. My other pick, just anybody in this new Oppenheimer movie. I was trying to think of random like young white guys, and I just couldn't name anybody. So I was like, what movie has like all the white guys? Oh, the Oppenheimer movie. Let's just go through that cast. So pick your poison there. Just throw your finger around, stick it on somebody. That's probably gonna be better than Chris Pratt. So young Cillian Murphy.
They've
like
cast
that.
more people too recently in the last week. They've cast more white guys.
Just more white guys. Interesting. It's gonna be the most white guy movie of all time, but what else would a Nolan movie be? I guess, but
Hey,
no.
Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., Rami Malek. Hey, he's not white.
There you go.
Dane
like Rami
DeHaan, Josh Hartnett, obviously Matt Damon, Jack Quaid, Josh Peck, Kenneth Branagh, Benny Safdie, Gary Oldman. I think that was the latest one. David DeCalzian, Jason Clarke. That's a classic.
Okay, Jason Clarke would be good as Chris Pratt.
Yeah, there you go. Alex Wolff.
A lot of those don't fit, like Gary Oldman or David Duchovny. Some of them kind of.
Alden Ehrenreich, the guy who played Han Solo.
Yeah,
he's in the movie too.
Good. He'd be good. Okay, see, these are decent ideas for this recast, but yeah, that's fine.
There's plenty of options.
I want to hear your recast now. Let's get your Bob.
Yeah, so actually, this is something I was saving up to this point. In 2013, I got to go see Billy Beane speak in person.
Really?
He came and visited Ball State, and he did this little presentation. And you know what so this was like 2 years after the movie came out. You know what I thought when I saw him? I said, this man looks like Billy Bob Thornton. He doesn't look like Brad Pitt. And he really does. He looks like a younger, like, because he's a little bit younger than Billy Bob Thornton, I think. But he looks like Billy Bob Thornton. And you know what? Billy Bob Thornton, Bad News Bears. He's a baseball guy too.
Yeah.
Put him in for Brad Pitt. Obviously, Brad Pitt is so iconic in this role, and I wouldn't want him recast. But if we had to choose somebody else, second choice, if you're going based on looks, Billy Bob Thornton is the choice. And him and Billy Bob Thornton, they've shared some women in their life, particularly Angelina Jolie, one woman in particular. So there's a connection there as well.
Wow. Hey, great point there. But yeah, if we're going off just realism straight up, Billy Beane's no Brad Pitt. Come on now. He's more of Billy Bob Thornton. So I like that. Why not? But my other one that I do want to recast, I mentioned before, I want to, just like periodically put in these scout guys, like replace the forgettable scout guys and throw in a couple other fun choices. So my categories for this, which is like, they got to be an old guy basically. Because I mean, they're all scouts. That's what they do basically. So I was thinking, what's some good old guys in Hollywood? Obviously, Michael Caine name came to mind.
Classic.
You'd probably have to lose his British accent though, which I don't know.
Has Michael Caine ever done an American accent in a movie?
No. Well, maybe.
I mean, I'm sure he I've never heard it, but
I mean, not in the Muppet Christmas Carol. So every time we mention him, I have to mention
that is a movie set in England, so that makes sense.
I mean, most movies other than the Dark Knight movies, I feel like most movies in are set in England, but regardless, he's gonna have to drop it for this one. And my other thought that I had was Morgan Freeman. Get him in that scout team meeting. I think he would bring some more intensity as well, which might have been nice. Him and maybe the head scout guy could have been on the same page. He's just like, what the hell are you talking about, Brad? But no, throw Morgan Freeman in. And then, if you want to as well, just throw in Dave Bautista. A little bit more of a presence. I think not maybe for that scout team. Maybe
probably a little too young. Maybe
no, I was
Jonah
gonna say,
Holswell.
maybe when they go to the Indians and they're trying to make a trade there, the guy who whispers
Dave
of the GM.
I think his name's Dave.
He's basically just the muscle. So maybe throw him in there because this spoiler alert. I'm not going to give this movie a perfect score. Maybe if Dave Bautista was in that role, he'd have a better chance. But sadly, it's not going to get there.
Well, I will say this movie, adding Morgan Freeman, this movie is very white.
It is.
And it's tough. It's kind of the same thing with the Oppenheimer movie. It's like when you're making a movie based on real events, like, all these people wear white is the thing. But, get a little bit of color in the scouting room or something, give us Morgan Freeman. Come on.
It was really just Ron Washington in there, I think was the only.
Yeah. And then you get the players who you have like Rincon, who's obviously
Justice. He's a decent amount of lines, but yeah. That's probably the biggest downfall of this movie is,
but again, when you do a movie based on a true story, it's tough to do that, I guess. So my second recast, and this is a fun one. If we're gonna have somebody play Brad Pitt's ex-wife, why not pick Brad Pitt's ex-wife? We'll go Jennifer Aniston.
There you go. I like that. Who even plays his ex-wife?
I don't know. I actually, if we're gonna go back, I don't think she's that great of an actress either. In this movie, again, in comparison, I think she doesn't do as great. Jennifer Aniston, she's a great actress. Obviously there would be some chemistry there that would surely play through. I don't know how their working relationship was, 6 years after their divorce in 2011. But let's add a little more realism and put Brad Pitt's real ex-wife playing his ex-wife. I'm sure you can probably get some vitriolic hate between.
I was gonna say, if you do that, it's just gonna be like raw emotion in that scene, though. It might not be as comedic. It might be more I fucking hate this guy, and just because all the chemistry and stuff. But I kind of like it. It just adds another layer to the whole family dynamic. So might as well.
All right, let's move on to our rating.
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong?
Do it. You want me to go first?
Yeah. It's not perfect, but it's probably high.
Yeah, this is up there for me. I mean, for Letterboxd standards, I might put this at a 5-star.
I did put this at a 5-star.
I take the 5 stars a little bit more seriously, I think, than most people. I believe the only, I don't think I have Moonlight on there. So the only 3 that would be on there are obviously my big 3: Arrival, Prestige, Moonlight. I think this movie's got to be up there. I'd say it is a top 5 movie for me, just on a personal level. So I'm gonna go a 60. I'm in between 66, 67. I'm just gonna go 67. We'll go on the higher end. Why not? 67. Moneyball.
Yeah. So actually, I don't know if you noticed this, but about a week ago, I actually updated my Letterboxd top 4 before I even thought about doing this movie. And I put this as my 4th favorite movie because I really do love this movie. I decided to remove Requiem. I still love that movie. There's a lot of things about it, but you know what? Jared Leto has just been too much in the news recently, and I don't want him to sully
Jared
my
Leto
Letterboxd
sucks, I hate Jared Leto so much.
So I was thinking, I was like, what's my 4th? Because I think my top 3 has been really solid, like Catch Me If You Can, Lady Bird, and Social Network. Catch Me If You Can, Lady Bird, Social Network, I think are easily in my top 3. But then when you go to 4 through 8, there's probably a couple movies that could kind of fit in there. Right. Stuff like Moonlight, there's a couple others. But then I was sitting down and I was like, you know what? I rewatched Moneyball a couple months ago. It's a 5-star movie, baseball movie. I'm a big baseball guy. Obviously Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt, Sorkin again. So I threw it in my Letterboxd top 4, and then we do this movie here. I think this is easily a 5-star movie, and I got to give it a 66.
Whoa! So close.
Big score for me.
That's a massive score from you. Yeah, I'm very impressed. Way up there.
So shout outs to this movie. I guess I'm not as exclusive with you as exclusive as you are, with my my top fives, but I can give you my top fives on or not my top fives, my 5-star movies on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
So
Let's hear him. I do want to hear
we have oh, my sorting. There we go. Your rating highest first. So The Prestige, 5-star movie.
Yeah.
Moneyball, 5-star movie. Scream, 5-star movie.
Wow.
Birdman, 5-star movie.
I'm saying it.
Zodiac, 5 stars. Shawshank, 5 stars. Arrival, 5 stars. Lady Bird, obviously. Spotlight, 5-star movie. That was close. It was honestly between Moneyball and Spotlight for that 4th position. Knives Out, probably the most recent 5-star movie I've had. Goodfellas, a classic. Good Will Hunting, obviously a classic. That's probably also in that like 4 to 8 range.
Yeah.
Moonlight. But yeah, those are all my current 5 stars that I've seen, at least in the year and a half. I'm sure there's other movies that I would think of as a 5-star, but those are the ones that I've seen recently. So
yeah, those are a lot of good ones. Good Will Hunting is probably up there for me in that 4-8 range, like you said. But yeah, a lot of good movies there. Can't really argue with any of those.
All right, so that concludes our discussion on Moneyball. Let's move on to We Have a Pod Grid.
Season 3. Are we gonna do that all season, or?
I mean, I don't care what you do.
Season 3. That's the question.
Probably when it hits season 4. So.
All right, sounds good. I'll just do it every episode then.
All right, drawing a card, and again skipping.
Oh, yeah. Also, what episode is this? I don't even remember.
Episode 9, I believe.
Wow, we're almost to 10.
Almost.
We're flying
10.
through the season, man. Crazy, but yeah, what movie? Okay.
Here's a fun one: The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
All right, you go first.
All right, setting the timer. 30 seconds to talk about The 40-Year-Old Virgin. This is a underrated comedy. 40-Year-Old Virgin almost took it in our 2000s draft, but ended up going super bad over top of it. But Steve Carell, it's kind of what got Steve Carell to leave The Office, so that's kind of sad a little bit, his success in this film. The waxing scene is obviously iconic. Also great ensemble cast. You have Paul Rudd in this movie. You have other people that I can't remember off the top of my head, but just a really fun movie all top. The old people that he's like lives next to are a little strange, but 40-Year-Old Virgin, good funny film. Would recommend. It's better than that Dinner with Schmucks. That one's a little uncomfortable to watch at points.
I'd say just a little bit, yeah. Yeah, throw me deep in then. Kelly Clarkson. No, it's a great movie. I mean, specifically that waxing scene is super fun. Also, I think the guy's name's Romany Mount or something like that. Yeah. Super funny guy though. I think he hasn't done a ton since, but I think I hit some like YouTuber or some viral Twitter video or something. Very funny guy, but I agree. I think most of the cast is just underrated in general.
I got to pull it up now. Kat Dennings, Leslie Mann, obviously a Judd Apatow classic. His wife, Seth Rogen's in this movie. Kevin Hart pops up. Jonah Hill pops up. A lot of
Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart has that great scene with Robin Maggie where they're just screaming at each other in the store.
Elizabeth Banks, Catherine Keener.
Yeah, no, it's a great cast, and
Jane
it's
Lynch.
An Apatow classic, I would say. But it is carried by Steve Carell, and like you said, I think it was in between like season 3 or 4 of The Office, and he was kind of like, oh, I can just do this and make it a shit ton more money, which, good for Steve Carell, but not great for The Office. So has its ups and downs. I'd prefer it, another great season of The Office, maybe over a couple, terrible Steve Carell comedies, but, it is what it is. This is what sort of slingshotted all that, though.
To wrap things up, recommendations, what have we been into?
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
First things first, something that Cody and I have both been really into recently is a game. It's called Framed. Framed.wtf is the website. It's kind of it's a play on Wordle. It's not really that similar to Wordle. I mean, you get 6 guesses and
that's about it. Yeah.
But there's not like like how close you are, but it's a movie Wordle basically. So it shows you a frame from a film. Then if you guess a movie, if you get it wrong, it shows you another one. It kind of gets progressively easier, basically showing you more and more like scenes with the lead actors or scenes that would be obvious, but something that Cody and I have been doing daily. So I would definitely recommend it. If you're a movie fan, check out Framed.
It's actually a ton of fun. And Corbin sent me a link to it. It was like this week. It was like Wednesday or something, and we've been doing it every day. I really like it. To give a short rundown of them, just because why not? One of the ones was Groundhog Day, and like it was a shot of the alarm clock, and neither of us got on that one. It's kind of tough there. Another one was which zombie movie was it? It was some zombie movie.
It was
I guess
Dawn of
like
the
five.
Dead.
Of them. Yeah, I guess like 5 of them, and it was all wrong.
Yeah, I guess
But-
Night of the Living Dead right before, and then I was like, okay, it's probably got to be Dawn
Yeah.
of the Dead.
But today's was I got it in one shot, and it was Black Panther. It was just a random shot of the building of
The
when it was
Oakland
like-
building.
it's like
Speaking,
right before-
hey, connections, Oakland.
Connection. See, there you go. But I was like, oh, it's a fucking Marvel movie. You're not gonna get that past me. Come on. So
I mean, that's pretty. I mean, that's basically the opening shot of that movie, right? Pretty close.
well, no, I think it's the closing, isn't it?
Oh, is it the end? Well,
well,
it's the same building. It's in the beginning and the ending of the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's
Oh.
the beginning because it's at night.
No, it is the beginning. Yeah, you're right. You're right. The ending is it's daytime, I think. But yeah, you weren't gonna get that one fast, basically. But good game. Go check it out. I definitely like that.
Yeah.
Got any more Rex? You can start us off with Rex this week.
Well, I haven't watched Survivor, so we can't talk Survivor. I'm sorry. I'll probably watch it after this. What have I been into? Fuck. I don't have my letterbox pulled up. Shouts out to Atlanta still. Continue to watch that. Didn't go see Morbius, unfortunately. Maybe I'll find the time one of these days to go check out what Michael's doing. I did watch a 2022 release from Steven Soderbergh called Kimmy, starring Zoe Kravitz. Interesting film because it's set like in a COVID world, but the focus of the movie is not COVID, which I think is like, if you're going to do that, it's the best way. It's about this basically a computer programmer. She works for a company that has like an Amazon, Alexa, Google Home equivalent called Kimmy. And she kind of like basically listens to all these streams. She ends up hearing what she thinks is a crime committed on the stream. But she's also agoraphobic and is scared to go outside. So she's trying to like help this person who needs help, but she also can't leave her apartment. And then you have like the COVID as like the overarching, like people are wearing masks, and it kind of made her condition a little bit worse, but it's not the main theme of the movie.
Interesting. Yeah, sounds all right.
Yeah,
So-
you know, Soderbergh, he puts out a movie at least once a year, just like
Yeah, I was
now
gonna
on
say.
streaming platforms. It was Netflix for few years now. The past 2 years, he's been doing it on HBO Max with No Sudden Move on HBO Max about mid last summer, and then early 2022 coming out with Kimmy, starring Zoe Kravitz. So
Nice. Might have to check it out. That guy just pumps out movies that I feel like. So yeah. Any more Rex?
That's really all I got. We're kind of close to the last time we recorded. So
Yeah, that is true. And I really don't have too much either. Just coughing. But yeah, no, I was gonna talk about Survivor, but not that great of an episode.
we'll save it
anyways.
for next week.
It was whatever episode, but next week I believe is the merge, so should be
Sweet.
a lot more to talk about then. But what I have been watching, Game of Thrones. The talk never ends. I'm on season 7, episode 9 or 8, I believe, right now. So the last episode I did actually watch. Sadly, my boy Littlefinger finally met his doom. I think he just stayed in the same place and his lies cut. When he realized, Bran is, he can see everything that ever happened, probably should have just left because he pretty much dicked over the Starks like 4 times. But yeah, I think his character through 7 seasons, it might have been my favorite. That doesn't mean he's a good guy by any means, but I mean, he basically started the entire war. So I think for his character of who he is in that story, it's pretty interesting and super fun as well. Aidan Gillen is a pretty good actor, and I think he's an American actor too, and he killed that role. So big ups to him. And then also, just I don't know, this season the direction has been interesting. Obviously, it's more about like the living versus the dead, and then Cersei's still a psychopath, which is fine. But the whole Jon Snow and Daenerys interaction, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Obviously, it's also incest, which is the entire point. But I don't know. I don't know if I buy it. And the way everybody talks about the next season, I'm very very cautious of how I'm doing the show right now. But I think season 7 overall is still pretty good. So no complaints there. But yeah, that's pretty much all I'm watching right now. I did want to talk about very quickly. Evidently, I saw on the web and Twitter and YouTube. Evidently, this new Michael Bay movie of Ambulance,
not bad apparently,
it's getting very good reviews. Which I think when we talked about the Spider-Man episode, I saw the trailer beforehand.
Everyone was hating on the trailer.
Terrible. It looked like the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, and I can't believe it's getting good reviews. So I might have to check that out just to
man.
Yeah, just to go against. I was slandering it hard when I saw the trailer, so I might have to go watch it just for Michael Bay.
Yeah. I think basically what someone said is like, it's not, a big IP thing. It's just like a fun movie that's like pretty well made. Like, here's the thing, Michael Bay, love him or hate him, like the dude knows how to direct a movie. Like he knows how to do a good action sequence. It's a movie set in LA. It's got a good actor, its lead role, and it's not like got insane stakes for what's going to happen next. It's, a high budget, well-made, thriller movie set in Los Angeles. So, shout out. I'll probably go check out Ambulance.
Yeah, I might too. I heard as well, it's basically just one giant chase scene, which is similar to like Mad Max Fury Road without all the weird stuff. So yeah, maybe it's good. I definitely think like I said, just because I was talking shit about it, I should probably check it out.
Also, to wrap things up, I'll give some shouts to some Brad Pitt movies that are great. So, Fight Club, check it out if you haven't seen it. Obviously, Inglourious Bastards. Yeah, there you go. Inglourious Bastards. Also, I picked in the movie draft, the 2000 movie draft.
Bad Brad Pitt accent in that one though.
But no, it's like purposely bad.
I know.
Obviously, Seven, great.
Yeah.
Benjamin Button. Listen, there's some things that don't work in that movie, but Brad Pitt plays an old baby man. So. That's pretty funny. Obviously, he's in the Ocean's trilogy. Ocean's 11 is the good one, if you want to check that out. And then Burn After Reading. Now, there is an underrated Brad Pitt performance right there. So,
yeah,
we'll give shouts. Burn After Reading. That's the main
one.
Love
that movie. Yeah.
And then also, I think Brad Pitt was in my top 5 favorite actors of all time. Also, his production company, Plan B, has done a lot of great work to highlight, BIPOC stories, stuff like Moonlight, stuff like 12 Years a Slave, movies, even Minari that was released last year. So also doing a lot of great work there to kind of put people of color at the forefront of movie making. So that's great.
Yeah. I believe he's your number 5, right?
Yeah, he was somewhere in there. I don't know.
Terrible pick.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next week. We got a really fun one that I think is going to be an enjoyable one to listen to. So
absolutely.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, appreciate you guys a lot. Stay camping.
Send us your frames.
Yeah.
Peace.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.